best combo. Please, not no long. Wait. Please. 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 As to the natural healthy nail. I just seen this girl on TikTok and she was talking about how the TikTok skincare products never work for her. Me either. But I'm going to show you what does work for me that I really don't be seeing on TikTok.
A Prairie View A&M University student is dead after police say she was shot while trying to intervene during a fight between her friend and her friend's boyfriend. This all happened early this morning at a Prairie View apartment complex close to the university. KPRC2's Bryce Newberry spoke with police about the complicated investigation now underway.
5:30 in the morning, the gates of Prairie View Apartments. Most college students are either passed out from the night before or cramming for finals. But in that parking lot, 10 gunshots just shattered the silence. When the smoke cleared, an honor roll student lay dead, not from a robbery gone wrong, not from a random act of violence. Jasmine Kyill died doing what she always did, helping a friend in trouble. Here's what the police found. 3 people bleeding, 2 suspects fleeing the scene, and one 21-year-old woman who would never see her senior year. The kind of student every parent dreams of raising. The kind of friend everyone wishes they had. But here's where this story gets twisted, because 8 months later, when the arrests finally came down, something happened that would make your skin crawl, something that would make you question everything you thought you knew about friendship, loyalty, and justice. The person Jasmine died trying to save made a choice so shocking that even seasoned investigators couldn't believe what they were seeing. A choice that turned this tragic story into something much darker. We're talking about someone who was there, someone who saw everything, someone who knew exactly what went down in that parking lot when those 10 rounds were fired. And when it mattered most, when it was time to stand up for the friend who gave her life, well, let's just say not everyone deserves the sacrifice made for them. This isn't just another campus shooting. This isn't just another case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is about what happens when good people try to help bad situations, and how sometimes the people you're trying to save become the very ones who destroy you. Prairie View Police Chief Wilton White called it a wasted life for no reason.
We have a wasted life for no reason, and I don't know when it's going to stop or when it's going to end or what it's going to take to end.
But after you hear what really happened, you'll realize there was a reason, just not the one anyone saw coming. Drop a comment if you've ever helped someone who didn't deserve it, because what you're about to hear will make you think twice about who you trust with your life. The question everyone's asking isn't just who pulled the trigger. It's what happened after the bullet stopped flying that'll keep you up at night. January 4, 2002, Houston, Texas. That's when the world got Jasmine Kyill, and for 21 years, she was everything you'd want in a daughter. A student, a friend. Prairie View A&M University wasn't just her school. It was her second home. This historically black university had seen thousands of students walk through its doors. But Jasmine? She was different. Honor roll wasn't just something she achieved once and forgot about. It was her standard, her normal. While other students were struggling to pass, she was setting the bar higher. Senior year was supposed to be her victory lap. 4 years of grinding, studying, proving herself, and she was almost at the finish line. The kind of student professors remember years later. The kind who makes parents beam with pride when they talk about their kids' grades. But Jasmine wasn't just about the books. She had that rare quality that gets people into trouble. She actually gave a damn about other people. Not the fake social media kind of caring. The real deal. The kind where you drop everything when someone needs help. She was dating an off-duty security guard. Someone who understood responsibility, who carried himself with authority. On paper, they made sense. 2 people who took life seriously, who understood what it meant to protect others. Her friends knew they could count on her. Middle of the night phone call, Jasmine would answer. Drama with a boyfriend, she'd be there. Money problems, she'd figure out a way to help. That's just who she was. And that's exactly what made her dangerous to herself. Because in a world full of people who mind their own business, who look the other way when things get messy, Jasmine was the exception. She was the one who stepped up, the one who got involved, the one who couldn't walk past someone in trouble without doing something about it. Her professors saw a dedicated student with a bright future. Her family saw a young woman who made them proud every single day. Her friends saw someone they could always depend on no matter what. But none of them saw what was coming. None of them realized that Jasmine's greatest strength, her willingness to help others, was about to become her fatal weakness. That her loyalty, her courage, her refusal to stand by and watch someone get hurt would put her directly in the path of violence she never asked for. The morning of June 15, 2023 started like any other day for Jasmine. She had no idea she was about to encounter a situation that would test every principle she lived by. She had no idea that helping a friend would cost her everything. And she definitely had no idea that the person she was about to risk her life for would later make a decision that would haunt everyone who knew her story. But Jasmine had one fatal flaw. She trusted the wrong person. The gates of Prairie View Apartments, 625 Elm Street, just 1 mile from campus. But it might as well have been a different world. This wasn't the pristine university grounds with manicured lawns and academic buildings. This was where real life happened, where students dealt with rent, relationships, and all the messy drama that comes with being young and figuring things out. The complex was buzzing with activity most nights. College students coming and going, parties, late-night study sessions, the usual chaos of people in their early 20s trying to adult. But June 15th wasn't starting like a typical day. Somewhere else in the area, a couple was having the kind of fight that neighbors call the police about, the kind where things get thrown, voices get raised, and someone ends up hurt. This wasn't their first rodeo. Domestic violence rarely is. It's a pattern, a cycle that keeps repeating until something breaks or someone breaks. The woman in this relationship knew the drill. She'd been through this before. The apologies, the promises, the brief periods of calm before the storm hit again, but this time felt different. This time, she was scared enough to run. And she knew exactly where to go. The Gates Apartments weren't just random student housing to her. She had a friend there, someone she could trust, someone who would open their door at any hour, ask questions later, and help first. The kind of friend everyone needs, but not everyone deserves. So when things got too heated, too dangerous, too real, she made her way to Elm Street, probably thinking she was heading towards safety, probably believing that getting to her friend would solve everything. She had no idea she was about to drag that friend into a nightmare. By 5:30 a.m., the situation had followed her, because abusers don't just let their victims walk away. They don't respect boundaries, safe spaces, or other people's property. When they want to continue the fight, they'll take it anywhere. The parking lot of the Gates became their battlefield. And that's where Jasmine found them. She was probably heading to her car, maybe going to class early, maybe coming back from somewhere. Just a normal morning for an honor roll student who had better things to worry about than other people's relationship drama. But when she saw her friend getting physically assaulted in that parking lot, every instinct she had kicked in. This wasn't a situation where you called campus security and wait. This wasn't something you could handle with a strongly worded text message. This was happening right now, right in front of her, and someone she cared about was getting hurt. Jasmine didn't hesitate. She never did when someone needed help, but as she got closer, as she tried to intervene, she realized this wasn't just a heated argument. This wasn't just some boyfriend being a jerk. This was violence. Real, dangerous, potentially deadly violence. And she was in way over her head. That's when she made the decision that would change everything. She couldn't handle this alone, but she knew someone who could. Her boyfriend, the off-duty security guard, someone trained to deal with dangerous situations, someone who carried the authority and the tools to make this stop. She went to get backup. She had no idea she was walking into a death trap. She had no idea that bringing her boyfriend into this situation would turn a domestic dispute into a gunfight. She had no idea that trying to save her friend would end up costing her everything. But most importantly, she had no idea that the friend she was about to die for was already planning how to betray her. What happened next turned a college parking lot into a war zone. Jasmine's boyfriend wasn't just any security guard. This was someone who knew how to handle volatile situations, someone who understood de-escalation, someone who carried himself with the kind of authority that usually makes troublemakers think twice. But when he arrived at that parking lot and saw what was happening to Jasmine's friend, he wasn't walking into a situation that could be talked down. The abusive boyfriend wasn't backing down. He wasn't intimidated by another man showing up. If anything, it made him more aggressive, more dangerous. Because now, this wasn't just about controlling his girlfriend. This was about his reputation, his dominance, his refusal to be challenged by anyone. Two men, both with something to prove, both armed, both convinced they were in the right. The argument started immediately. Voices raised, chests puffed out, that masculine posturing that happens when egos collide. Jasmine's boyfriend trying to get the abuser to back off. The abuser refusing to be told what to do by some stranger. And Jasmine? She was caught in the middle, probably thinking her plan was working. She'd gotten help. She'd brought someone who could handle this. Everything was going to be okay. She couldn't have been more wrong. The first shot came without warning. The abusive boyfriend pulled his gun and fired, hitting Jasmine's boyfriend in the buttocks. Not a kill shot, but enough to drop him, enough to send a message. This wasn't a warning anymore. This was attempted murder. But Jasmine's boyfriend wasn't going down without a fight. Even wounded, even bleeding, he drew his own weapon and returned fire. His shot found its target, the abuser's chest. A more serious wound, the kind that could end this permanently. And that's when everything went completely insane. 10 rounds total. 10 bullets flying through the air in a matter of seconds. 2 men trying to kill each other while innocent people scrambled for cover. The kind of chaos where nobody knows where the next shot is coming from, where survival instincts take over and rational thought disappears. In the middle of this gunfight with bullets ricocheting off cars and concrete, Jasmine was still there, still trying to help, still believing she could somehow make this better. One of those stray bullets found her, not aimed at her, not intended for her, just a random piece of metal flying through the air at deadly speed, and she happened to be in its path. The honor roll student, who'd never hurt anyone, who'd only tried to help a friend, became collateral damage in someone else's war. She dropped to the pavement and never got back up, but the violence wasn't finished. Another innocent bystander, someone who had nothing to do with any of this, felt a bullet graze their head. Another life forever changed by a situation they never asked to be part of. When the shooting finally stopped, the parking lot looked like a battlefield. Blood on the concrete, shell casings scattered everywhere, cars with bullet holes. And in the middle of it all, Jasmine Kyill, 21 years old, honor roll student, loyal friend, lying motionless. The 3 men who'd been shooting at each other, they survived, wounded, bleeding but alive. The woman who'd started this whole thing by running from her abusive boyfriend, she was fine, physically anyway. The only person who died was the one who'd tried to help. Officer Kyill arrived to what he described as a wild scene. But even for a cop who'd seen his share of violence, this was different.
It was a wild scene, but we got everything under control.
This wasn't gang warfare or drug deals gone bad. This was what happened when domestic violence spilled over into the lives of innocent people. The Texas Rangers were called in, the Waller County Sheriff's Office assisted. This wasn't just a local incident anymore. This was the kind of case that demanded serious resources and serious investigation. But by the time law enforcement arrived, 2 suspects had already fled the scene. They didn't stick around to explain themselves, didn't wait to see if anyone needed help, didn't show any concern for the woman who just died trying to protect one of them. They drove 8 miles to a Buc-ee's on Highway 290, probably thinking they'd gotten away with it, probably believing they could disappear into the crowd of travelers and truckers. Just another couple stopping for gas and snacks. They were wrong, but what they did during those 8 miles, what they planned, what they agreed on, that's where this story gets really dark. Tell me in the comments, would you have done what Jasmine did? Because what happened next proves that sometimes the people you're willing to die for aren't willing to live with the truth. Officer Kyill has seen plenty of crime scenes in his career, but walking into that parking lot at the gates was something else entirely. Shell casings everywhere, blood pooling on the asphalt, 3 wounded men being loaded into ambulances, and 1 young woman who would never need medical attention again. Wild was the word he used to describe it, but even that didn't capture the complete chaos of what had just happened. This wasn't a planned hit or a gang shootout. This was pure, uncontrolled violence that had exploded out of nowhere and left destruction in its wake. The first priority was securing the scene. With that many bullets fired and that much confusion, investigators needed to piece together exactly what had happened. Who shot first? Who shot last? And most importantly, whose bullet had killed Jasmine Kyill? That question would haunt the investigation from day one. 2 guns, multiple shots from each, bullets flying in different directions, ricocheting off cars and concrete. In that kind of chaos, ballistics becomes a nightmare. Every angle matters. Every trajectory has to be mapped. Every piece of evidence has to be cataloged and analyzed. The Texas Rangers didn't get called in for routine cases. When they showed up at the gates, everyone knew this was serious. The Waller County Sheriff's Office joined the investigation too. All hands on deck for a case that was already making headlines across Texas. But while investigators were processing the scene, 2 people were already 8 miles away. The Buc-ee's on Highway 290 is a massive travel center. Hundreds of people stop there every day. Truckers, families on road trips, college students grabbing snacks. It's the kind of place where you can blend into the crowd, where 2 more faces wouldn't attract attention. That's probably what the suspects were counting on when they fled the scene. But they underestimated how quickly law enforcement could mobilize. They underestimated how seriously Texas takes cases involving college students getting murdered. They were detained shortly after arriving. No dramatic chase, no shootout, just 2 people who thought they were smarter than the system, sitting in a travel center parking lot, probably still covered in gunpowder residue from the shooting they'd just fled. Back at Prairie View A&M, news of Jasmine's death was spreading like wildfire. Social media posts, text messages, phone calls home to worried parents, the kind of news that hits a college campus like a shockwave. The university released a statement that tried to capture the grief of an entire community. It is with heavy hearts that the Panther family mourns the loss of one of our students. We extend our deepest sympathies to the family and friends in their time of grief. But words couldn't touch the reality of what had happened. An honor roll student, weeks away from her senior year, was dead. Not from an accident, not from illness, from violence that she'd never asked for, in a situation she'd only entered to help someone else. Police Chief Wilton White Jr. didn't try to hide his frustration when he spoke to reporters. We have a wasted life for no reason, and I don't know when it's going to stop or when it's going to end or what it's going to take to end. It's just a sad, sad situation that someone has to lose their life at such a young age. His words carried the weight of someone who'd seen too much senseless violence. But even he had no idea how much worse this case was about to get. Because while investigators were processing evidence and the community was mourning, something else was happening behind the scenes. Plans were being made, stories were being coordinated, evidence was being tampered with. The 2 people detained at Buc-ee's weren't just random suspects who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were about to prove that sometimes the real crime isn't the murder itself. It's what happens after the body hits the ground. That's how long Jasmine's family waited for answers. 8 months of wondering who pulled the trigger that killed their daughter. 8 months of hoping the justice system would deliver what they deserved. 8 months of believing that when arrests finally came, they'd make sense. February 2024. Prairie View Police Department makes an announcement that changes everything. 2 arrests, 2 names that would make anyone who knew this case do a double-take. Ortlyn Thomas, charged with murder, bond set at $500,000. Damien Thibault, charged with tampering with evidence, bond set at $5,000. On the surface, these look like standard arrests in a shooting case. One person for the actual killing, another for trying to cover it up. Nothing unusual there, happens all the time in criminal investigations. But here's where your brain is about to explode. Remember the friend, the one Jasmine died trying to save, the one who was getting beaten up in that parking lot, the one whose domestic violence situation started this entire nightmare? Yeah, about that. The police didn't release all the details immediately. They never do in cases this sensitive. But the connections were there for anyone paying attention. The timeline, the charges, the bond amounts that told a story about who was considered the bigger threat. Thomas with the murder charge and the massive bond, Thibault with the evidence tampering and the relatively small bond. 2 people who weren't just random suspects picked up at a Buc-ee's. 2 people who had intimate knowledge of what happened in that parking lot. 2 people who knew exactly who fired the shot that killed Jasmine Kyill. And one of them had been there from the very beginning. Think about it. In a chaotic shooting with multiple people firing multiple rounds, how do you tamper with evidence unless you know which evidence matters? How do you know what to hide, what to destroy, what to change, unless you were there when it happened? The friend Jasmine died trying to protect didn't just witness her murder. She didn't just survive while her savior died. She didn't just walk away from the scene while Jasmine's body lay bleeding on the pavement. She actively participated in covering it up. Jasmine died a hero. Her friend lived as a traitor. But the story gets even darker from here, because tampering with evidence isn't just about hiding things. It's about changing the narrative. It's about making sure the wrong story gets told. And for 8 months, that's exactly what happened. That 8-mile drive to Buc-ee's wasn't random panic. When you've just witnessed a murder, most people call 911 or run home to hide. But driving to a crowded travel center with security cameras and hundreds of witnesses? That's not fear. That's planning. 8 miles gives you plenty of time to get your story straight. Plenty of time to decide what happened and what didn't. Plenty of time to coordinate lies that will send investigators chasing shadows instead of finding the truth. And Thibault had the inside track on everything. She knew who fired first, who fired last, which gun killed Jasmine. She knew because she watched her friend take that bullet trying to save her life. Instead of using that knowledge for justice, she used it to protect Thomas. The lies probably started immediately. Wrong timeline, wrong sequence of events, wrong details about who was where when the shooting began. The kind of deception that wastes police resources and lets killers stay free. Evidence tampering means destroying physical proof, clothes with gunpowder residue, weapons, blood evidence. But it also means creating false stories, fake alibis, manufactured timelines, lies that sound believable until investigators dig deeper. For 8 months, it worked. 8 months of Jasmine's family demanding answers. 8 months of the Prairie View community wondering why no arrests were made. 8 months of investigators hitting dead ends because key witnesses were lying to their faces. The Texas Rangers don't give up easily. But even the best detectives can't solve cases when witnesses actively work against them. It took 8 months to unravel the deception and realize the friend Jasmine died saving wasn't just a survivor, she was an accomplice. June 24, 2023, Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church in Houston. The sanctuary filled with people who loved Jasmine Kyill, who couldn't believe she was gone, who still couldn't process that helping a friend had cost her everything. They called it a celebration of life, but how do you celebrate a life cut short by betrayal? How do you honor someone whose final act of kindness was repaid with deception? Paradise South Cemetery became Jasmine's final resting place. 21 years old, honor roll student, loyal friend. Dead because she cared too much about the wrong person. The Prairie View community was shattered. Students who thought campus was safe suddenly realized violence could find them anywhere. Parents questioned whether their kids were truly protected. Faculty struggled to explain how someone so promising could be gone so senselessly. Chief White's words haunted everyone. "We have a wasted life for no reason." But now they knew there was a reason, just not one anyone could stomach. The systemic issues became impossible to ignore. Domestic violence doesn't stay contained. It spreads like poison, destroying everyone it touches. Bystanders become victims. Heroes become casualties. And sometimes, the people you save become the ones who help bury you. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video to those who needs to hear it.